Hi, everyone, and welcome to this online version of the information session for the Certificate in Technical Communication and the Masters of Science in Scientific and Technical Communication. My name is Jim Hall, and I'm an advisor in the program as well as an instructor in the program. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can look at some slides together as we talk about the program. So the master's program and the certificate program are actually kind of connected. So if you're here to learn about the master's program, don't actually skip ahead, because the certificate courses here that I'm going to talk about in a second actually kind of plug in almost kind of like a puzzle piece into the overall master's program. So we have the certificate program and we have the master's program. Let me go ahead and start with certificate, because that kind of forms the core of the master's program anyway. So the certificate in technical communication has these courses in it. It's just 5 courses for the certificate. In spring term, there are 2 courses offered, and one of them is the RIT 5112 class. That is information design. It's about theory and practice. And information design is really about how do technical communicators, or how can technical communicators kind of arrange content and structure content in a way that makes it easy for their audience to comprehend and understand. Also, RIT 5501, that's usability, human factors, and technical communication. And if I were to describe usability in kind of like sort of one sentence, I would say that a system has good usability if real people can do real work in a reasonable amount of time. And so that can apply to a website, a software application, a how-to document, a set of instructions, signage. Any kind of information product can have usability applied to it. In summer term, we have just the one course, and that is RIT 5561. That's editing and style for technical communicators. And that's going to help you to understand how to edit documentation so that it has good consistency, good flow, also editing for grammar and style. And it's a great way to raise the level of a document. Even if you don't end up editing its content, or at least adding more content to it, you can really raise the level of a document just by editing it for style and grammar. In fall, we have 2 courses, RIT 5001, that's the Introduction to Graduate Studies in Technification, and RIT 5662, and that's Writing with Digital Technologies. 5001 is not a Welcome to Graduate School course. It's actually, I would describe more about what is the field of technical communication? What do technical communicators do? What skills do they need to have? So it's really about understanding the field of technical communication rather than sort of welcome to grad school. Writing with Digital Technologies is a hands-on, fast-paced course. It's really about learning several technologies that technical communicators need to know. For example, every technical communicator will tell you that they need to edit content in a web content management system, but at the same time, there's always a time where you need to, like, why is this bullet point like way over here on the right-hand side of the screen? And so you need to be able to jump into the HTML and edit that one little piece by hand. And so we teach some skills in HTML, little stuff in web style sheets, basically some web writing, but we also talk about XML and RSS and DITA, which is another form of XML, and other kinds of digital documentation. It's all about writing with these digital technologies. Now, in terms of how quickly can you run through the program, so I would say probably half of our students choose to take 1 course per semester, and about half take 2 per semester. And it really comes down to your comfort level in terms of how you're going to balance your work and life in terms of managing your schoolwork. Students who take 2 courses per semester, well, in spring, they might take 5112, Information Design, and 5501, Usability Human Factors. Of course, those are the only 2 courses we offer in spring for the certificate program. And then in summer, following that up with 5561, the Editing and Style. And then in fall, coming back for the 2 courses in fall, 5001, Introduction to Graduate Studies, and 5662, Writing with Digital Technologies. Taking 1 per semester, again, it kind of depends on your comfort level and how you're going to do work-life balance. and about half of our students do one course per semester. You can take the courses in any order. If you're looking for advice or recommendations in terms of what courses to take first, second, third, I might recommend in spring starting with 5112, information design, and then in summer, of course, 5561, that's editing and style. And then in fall, following that up with the 5001, Introduction to Graduate Studies. And then in spring, RIT 5501, the usability and human factors. And then in fall, coming back for RIT 5662, writing with digital technologies. Now, it's one thing to kind of look at this as a list, but it's another thing to kind of look at this graphically. So let me actually look at what this looks like on kind of a calendar view. So again, a student who comes into the program in spring 2023, taking 2 courses per semester might start with 5112, information design, and 5501, usability and human factors. And then in summer, taking 5561, editing and style, and then in fall 5001, introduction to graduate studies, and 5662, writing with digital technologies. And so a student who enters the program in spring 2023 actually could be done by the end of December 2023. That's when fall semester ends. What about taking 1 course per semester? Well, it kind of basically stretches out a little bit, and that's what this would look like in spring, taking 5112, information design, and then in summer, taking 5561, editing and style, and in fall, coming back for 5001, introduction to graduate studies. In spring, taking 5501, usability and human factors, and then in fall, returning for 5662, writing with digital technologies. And so again, a student who comes in for spring 2023 and takes 1 course per semester would be done at the end of December of 2024. So that's the end of fall semester 2024. Now, a couple of things to kind of note about the certificate program. Students need to maintain a minimum GPA of 2.8 overall to remain in good standing with the university. But of course, you need to maintain a minimum grade of B- or better for any of these courses to apply towards the certificate. We used to have a note in here about the 4,000 level courses, but actually we don't have any 4,000 level courses anymore. So I probably should take that on my slides. So let's talk about the master's program. So if you're interested in the master's program, everything I just talked about in terms of the certificate applies to the master's program. So looking at that, we have these courses for the master's program. Now in the upper left, we have the core courses, those 15 credits. And if you look closely, you'll notice that those are the same 5 courses from the certificate. So RIT 5001, Introduction to Graduate Studies, 5112, Information Design, 5501, Usability and Human Factors, 5561, Editing and Style, and 5662, Writing Digital Technologies. And by the way, it is possible for students who come in and go for the certificate, when they graduate from the certificate, to then decide they want to go on to the master's program. It does involve reapplying for the master's program and getting accepted. But if you come into the certificate program and decide later on you want to go on for the master's, there's absolutely a path to do that. Those courses basically follow you into the master's program as long as you do it within a certain amount of time. So those are the same 5 courses that I just listed in the certificate program. There's also these 9 credits of outside coursework, and that's in the bottom left of your screen here. And these 9 credits are taken outside our program. And so looking at other courses across the University of Minnesota, typically students do 3 courses that are 3 credits each, but you can find courses out there that are 2 credits or 1 credit. So it really ends up being kind of a mix and match to what that student is comfortable doing. This is a great opportunity for students to kind of customize the program to suit their particular needs. So students that are interested in doing, well, for example, we had one student that, as part of their technical communication, they needed to do some data analysis. And so that student, as part of their outside coursework, took a course on Python programming, because Python is pretty well used in data analysis. And so it fit the role of a technical communicator to learn about Python programming in that case. Generally, we ask students to meet with their advisor to choose those 9 credits outside the program, and we look for a couple of different things. One, we look for that that course is going to be applicable to that person's role. So if that person can show that there's a connection, then that's a great check mark for that. Also, we look for, can we draw a line from that course topic into the field of technical communication? And so again, going back to the student who did the Python programming, absolutely met both of those criteria, because that definitely applied to their job, because they need to do some data analysis. And so learning Python helped them with that. And there was definitely a straight line drawn from doing this Python programming to technical communication, because again, this is something that this person needed to do. And we were able to demonstrate that knowing how to do some data analysis helped a technical communicator to do their job. Now, we also have a list of other courses that other students have taken previously. And so if you're interested in a list of courses and you're not really looking to kind of explore some new area, then we actually do have a list that we could share with you. And many students just pick from that list. For example, some of the students will take off that list a course in curriculum and instruction, because a number of technical communicators, either as part of their official role or maybe sort of one of those things that kind of get asked to do, end up doing some training. And so courses in curriculum and instruction help them to build better training programs as technical communicators. So again, those outside courses, those 9 credits, really provide a great opportunity for our master's students to kind of customize the program to the area that they're going to work in and to a specific interest area of theirs. In the upper right, in the electives, that's another opportunity for students to customize the program to their needs. So this is 3 credits, and we have 3 courses here. Each one is 3 credits. So really, it's pick one of the 3 courses that you see in the upper right-hand corner. One is 4562, that's International Professional Communication. And that's offered in spring on even years. And if you are someone who works with other organizations around the world, this might be an opportunity to learn more about that. So you'll learn about how to communicate with translators. You'll learn how to communicate across different cultures. Lots of different topics here on international communication. RIT 4573W is about writing proposals and grant management. So students that who their primary role is doing some sort of work with proposals or managing grants or writing grants, this is a course that definitely will help them in their career. That is offered in spring on odd years. And then the other option is RIT 5664, and that's science, medical, and health writing. And we have in the state of Minnesota a lot of medical device companies and medical companies. And if you work at one of those companies, learning about science, medical, and health writing could absolutely be a big boost in your career. So master's students need to take one of those 3 courses to satisfy that part of the elective. And then the bottom right is the last part of the master's program. That's the capstone course, RIT 8505, professional practice. And if I were to describe this, I would basically say it's an opportunity for master's students to kind of do a deep dive on a particular topic. And so they'll work with their instructor in 8505 to pick a focus topic. And then they spend the entire semester researching that topic, exploring that topic, and writing a paper about it. And then also doing a presentation. And this, as I say, is an opportunity to kind of focus their attention on their area of technical communication, but it's also an opportunity to kind of leverage the rest of the courses that they've learned across the program to help them hone that capstone course at the end. And so that's a great opportunity for students to kind of bring everything together. Now, it doesn't have to be the last course that master's students take, but we generally do recommend that be done somewhere towards the end of the program where possible. Now, again, about half of our students take one course per semester, and about half take 2 courses per semester. It's a little long for me to try and break this out for 1 course per semester, but here's what it might look like for a student that might take 2 courses per semester. So again, the courses in the light orange color are meant to represent the core coursework from the certificate program. Those are exactly the same courses that we saw a couple slides ago from the certificate program. So in spring 2023, the student might take 5112, information design, and 5501, usability and human factors. And then in summer, RIT 5561, about editing and style. We recommend that students don't take more than 2 courses per spring and fall, and to really try and take just 1 course in summer, just because summer ends up being kind of an intense time frame. It's a little shorter than fall and spring, and our students tell us that it ends up being pretty intense. So I would recommend 1 course in the summer. In fall, coming back with 5001, Introduction to Graduate Studies, and RIT 5662, Writing Digital Technologies. And then it's time to focus on the rest of the program, so the electives and the outside coursework. In spring 2024, I just sort of stubbed in here that a student might take one of their courses from 3 credits from outside the program. And so that's what that represents in the blue box. In the darker orange on the bottom, well, professional practice is only offered in spring. And so that's where I on this example calendar, put in the professional practice 8505. In summer, that would be the opportunity to take another course from outside the program. And so I put a blue course in there. And then in fall, coming back to take that last elective. And since that is fall on even years, that implies that that's going to be 5664. But basically, what course students take as the elective kind of depends on their interest area and, of course, when it's offered. So individual student schedules may vary here. And then, of course, the last 3 credits from the outside the program, and that's what that other blue box represents. And so what I'm trying to show here is that a student who gets accepted to the MS program and starts in spring of 2023, and then takes 2 courses rather, every spring and fall, and then 1 course every summer, would be done at the end of fall 2024. So basically December of 2024 would be completed in the program. And just a couple of notes to note about the MS program. You actually can complete this program with a minor. Number of our students definitely do that. Talk with the other department that you're interested in doing the minor with. Basically, think about those 9 credits outside the program. You actually might be well on your way to getting a minor. And so if that interests you to do a minor in another program, that might be an opportunity to use those 9 credits outside the program. Just like the certificate program, we need a minimum GPA of 2.80 to remain in good standing with the University of Minnesota. But of course, all courses need to be taken with an A to F grade and completed with a minimum grade of B-, except for a couple of courses that might be offered as pass-fail, SN. And we do need to be very careful about the 4,000 level courses. And so look, that's really a note about looking at the courses outside the program. We want to limit how many courses are going to be taken at the 4,000 level. So 5,000 and above basically means graduate, 4,000 and below means undergraduate. So we're looking for courses that are going to be at the graduate level. All right, so if you have questions about the program, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. So feel free to reach out to any one of us listed on this slide. Dr. Ann Hill-Dewan is a professor and co-director of graduate studies in our department. Dr. Leanne Caspin-Groit is the professor and co-director of graduate studies. My name is Jim Hall, and I am an instructor and an advisor in the program. And Dr. Ali Cooperman is graduate programs coordinator. And you can reach out to us using any one of these email addresses. Thanks very much for your interest in the program, and we hope to hear from you soon.